Hey y'all, I'm Zach Fitzgerald and I'm a volunteer here at First Baptist Church. Guys, tonight we have a very special service for you where we have our very own Tera Duke, who's a volunteer, and Ashley Wolf, who is one of our student interns. Tonight they're going to be sharing their testimony, sharing their story, and it's going to be a really special time. If you have the chance to come and view us live, we really encourage you to do so. We meet every Wednesday night at 50 Stanford Avenue in the Fellowship Hall at 6:30. So guys, stay tuned. We really hope you enjoy this. Thank you for joining us.
It's a different thing to have to talk about when I had to start thinking about talking about my testimony, I was like, well, what is my testimony? What is my life in Christ? And, to have to sit and reflect on that is sometimes a scary thing. And so it kind of scared me a little bit to really have to evaluate my walk in my life and where I am from when I was lost to where I am now. And I'll just start with the basics, I guess. Like a lot of you probably, and then maybe not like some of you, I have been in church my entire life. I've got a picture of me out on the wall out there as a little bitty infant in this very church building, when Moses was around, as Ryan said, But I've just never known anything but church. And so I was in Sunday school every Sunday, every Wednesday night. I sang in the children's choir, I sang in youth choir, everything. I went on all the youth trips, everything you could do, I did as a church member. When I was 7, I remember sitting in the pew and I looked up at my granddad and I said, I've got to give my life to Jesus. And I completely understood at that moment what that meant, and I went forward. And at that moment, as much as a 7-year-old child could do, I gave my life to Christ. Let's fast forward through our children years, and, you have a couple of struggles as a kid, but, you hit middle school and you hit high school and you really start understanding what it means to have a walk with Jesus, because things get harder, don't they? Like, as a 7-year-old girl, my struggle with sin was very different than my struggle with sin as a 7th grader, an 8th grader, a 9th grader. So I started to really struggle with my relationship with God, because I started understanding what it meant to be convicted and to really struggle with things that I didn't understand. So I started high school, this girl who's been in church her entire life, and I go into high school guns a-blazing. I left a YAC conference that March, and then we fast forward to August, and I was like writing notes to God, I am never going to have sex before marriage. I am never going to drink alcohol. I am never going to do this. I'm never going to do that. I literally sat down and wrote God a letter of all these things that I was promising him at that moment I'm not going to do. Because guess what? I'm a good church girl. I go to church every Sunday and every Wednesday night. And I'm in every activity the church could have. And I can't make mistakes. Tara's got this all together. Tara's got it. There was my first mistake. Tara's got it. Because Tara didn't have it. Tara hit the ground running her freshman year, and she fell smack dab on her face her sophomore year. I fell into a giant puddle of muck, of sin and of bad decisions and of things that I'm ashamed to this day that I wish I would have not made those decisions. And all the while going like, what's wrong with me? God, I promised you I would not do these things. I promised you I wouldn't fall to this sin. I promised you, God, why am I not doing this? Guess who I was dependent on that strength? That entire time had I ever stopped and I said, God, give me the strength. God, help me be strong. God, I have to have your strength because I can't do this on my own. No, I relied on my background of going to church and my background of being raised in church. There was a gap in my salvation. Not that I wasn't saved, and I knew I was, but there was that gap of learning how to have a reliance on God. I had lost that. I had lost that completely. So I guess the end of going into my junior year, we had a tent revival here in town. I don't know if any of y'all kids know what that is. And there was a evangelist named Harold Hunter, and I'm talking about he was one of them evangelists, where they stomp around and they yell at you. Like, it was pouring that day. The tent was about to fall in with rain. It was like trenches around the whole tent. And I sat there and I heard his words, and he was talking about, truly living your life for Christ and what that looks like, and painting a picture of that. And the whole time I was sitting there thinking, like, but God, I'm saved. I'm not walking up there. You have lost your mind. I am saved. I am Tera, who goes to church every Sunday. Why would I walk up there? You are crazy, God. Have you ever felt like that? Like, I'm good. I'm in here all the time. I go to church all the time. I have it all together. Tera had none of it together. Tera had failed miserably, and because she depended all completely on her own strength. And I was gripping the seat in front of me so hard that I felt like my nails were being dug into my hands. And I remember opening my eyes and thinking, like, I can't walk up there and let these people know that my Christian life, that I'm not doing a very good job at it. I didn't want all those people to see me walk up that aisle. I didn't want my grandmother, who I admired and who I held on a pedestal, to see me walk down an aisle and feel like she would be embarrassed of me, because then her Tera had made mistakes. Her Tera had messed up. And I didn't want people to see that. Before I knew it, I opened my eyes and I was at the front of all those people in there. And I was crying so hard I could not see straight. And I remember thinking, like, I just cried out to God in that moment and said, God, I need to change my life. I've got to start living for you. And from that moment on, my understanding of sin and of struggles completely changed. I don't know if you know this, but Satan likes to take those sins that you say you'll never fall to and throw them right in your face and make sure you do fall. If you walk around and say, I'm above that sin, I can't believe they would fall to that. I can't believe they would choose that. Do you see them? They're choosing. That is exactly where you will be attacked, and he will knock your feet out from under you so fast that you can't even see straight. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was knocked down with things in my life that I did not think I would fall to. And I hid behind the fact that I had this strong-rooted church background. I held on to that. But what I was missing was that deep-rooted trust in God to control and to be my strength. And I thought that I could handle things on my own, and I was almost ashamed to go to God. I finally got to a point where I was like, I don't want to pray to you about this because I'm embarrassed that I am struggling with this. Have you ever felt that way? Like, you're embarrassed that you're struggling with something. You're embarrassed of a sin. You're embarrassed of things in your life. And for some weird reason, I guess I thought God didn't know about it. I'm like, well, I can't talk to him about it because he doesn't know about that. So I'm going to keep it all hidden. But he knew all about it. And he was just sitting there waiting on me to say, give it to me. Give it all to me. I'm going to fast forward. From that moment on, I worked really hard to try and change my walk with God. Yes, I kept making mistakes. Yes, I'm stupid. And I make choices that were not very godly at times. But, the loving God we serve is forgiving, and he has grace, and he has mercy. And thank you, Lord, that he brought me through some of those times and those choices that I made. And he has me here today. Fast forward to about 3 years ago. We start a Bible study at Willow Court. And we are going house to house, and we're meeting with people. And we knock on this door, and a girl appears at the door. Her name is Rachel. And I opened the door, and I was like, Rachel! I went to high school with her. And so I had this connection, so I started talking with her, and, I invited her to come, and I ended up meeting with her and another girl that I actually knew from high school in her house. Well, we're having this awesome time weekly of meeting and having this Bible study together. And then one day the bomb dropped. Rachel looked at me, and she was talking about our life in high school, and she said, I'm so glad you are down here right now. But I want you to know that I was shocked to see you because I didn't know you were a Christian in high school. And I had all these classes with her. I had all these things. I had it together. I was in church all the time. But my life didn't show anything to her that I was saved and I had a relationship with the Lord. I wanted to crawl under a hole and die at that very moment. I thought I had all this time with this girl, and I dropped the ball. I dropped the ball on Rachel. I knew at that very moment that through high school, she was watching me. I wasn't even good friends with her. I had no relationship with her. I had no, we had classes together, and I was one of those people, like, I was just nice to you, and like, so I wasn't mean to her or anything like that, but like, we just weren't, we didn't hang out or anything like that, but she was watching my life. She was watching my choices. And as a grown woman, I get to sit here and hear this girl tell me that from my life, she didn't see any evidence of Jesus. And I don't think you could have said anything worse to me at that moment. I looked around, I was like, I'm so glad other people from the church aren't in here. I was so embarrassed. I was embarrassed. And I thought to myself, how many more Rachels do I have out there? How many Rachels do you have? How many Rachels do you have that are watching you? You don't know who they are. You don't even have a relationship with them. You don't have a friendship with them. You may just be sitting in class with them. You may be playing on a sports team with them. You may pass them in the hallway. It could be that simple. And they're looking at you, and they don't see any evidence of Jesus in your life. There's a lot of things I would like to go back and change. Let me just phrase that. But of all things I wish I could go back and do, I wish I could go back and not have a Rachel, but have a Rachel that could say to me, Tera, I saw Jesus in your life, and my life was changed because of you. And not that when I met Rachel 3 years ago, she had still not come to a knowledge of Jesus. She was still not saved. And you know what? She may split hell wide open, and part of that is my fault because of my life not exhibiting Jesus on a daily basis. So when you walk around and you think your sin's hidden, do you think I made those choices in plain sight in high school? Like, did I walk around making those bad decisions in front of everybody? No. I thought they were hidden. I thought they were, behind closed doors. I thought they were not obvious to everybody, but they were obvious in a way that I was very unaware of. And because of that, Rachel may never know Jesus. I poured my heart out in those short amount of times I had with her down there at the Bible studies because I thought, here's my second chance, God. You gave me this second chance. Please let me. I still don't know. She ended up moving. We went down there one day and she had gone. And I still don't know. I still don't know to this day what her relationship with Jesus is. But I know, like, if there was one Rachel, there may be more, And so, as much as that embarrasses me, and it does, embarrasses me so bad that I had somebody tell me they weren't aware that I was a Christian in high school. As much as that embarrasses me, that was a part of my testimony that changed the way I lived forever from those 3 years ago, because it changed how I thought about my life. It changed about how I think and how I talk and how I do anything, because you don't know who is watching you, and you don't know if you have a Rachel out there. Some of you in here may be Rachels, and you may be looking at us and you may be saying, I want to see evidence of Jesus in your life, and I want to see how he's changed you. I'm going to come sit in here on Wednesday nights, and I want to see what he did in your life to make a difference. Are you showing the ones sitting around you the difference God made? I want to know. I wasn't showing that difference. I was guilty. I had blood on my hands. I have her life in my hands because I didn't do my job as a follower of Jesus. As a good church girl who went to church every single time the doors was open. And the one thing that God calls us to do, I failed at miserably. But that doesn't mean that I can't take that from here on out and change my life. And take that piece of Rachel and use her in my testimony and use her in my life to change how I interact and what I do. And I just don't want you to look back one day and have to hear 20 years later, 20 years later, she didn't know about my life. And she remembered that, is what's crazy. She remembered that she didn't see evidence of Jesus in me. You know, and so do you want to walk around on a daily basis and have people say they can't see evidence of Jesus in you? Is that the legacy you want to leave behind? I'm embarrassed. Tera left that legacy for a little while. I left it, and it was embarrassing that I did. I'm embarrassed to this day that I left that. I wish I could go back and change those things, but I can't. I can only do better from here on out. I just want to say to you that I hope that, you know, some part of this time of hearing people's walks and their relationships with Jesus, that you take away taking time to reflect in your own life and to really look at what God is doing in you. You know, are you leaving behind a Rachel? I don't want you to get to come to me 20 years from now and say, hey, I met a girl or I met a guy that I used to know in high school, and he told me about the same thing that Rachel told you. Don't leave those people behind. Don't leave that legacy of no evidence of Jesus. Don't leave that. I left it, and it's embarrassing, and it's a hard place to be. And I made choices that led up to that. Was I mean to Rachel? Did I do anything directly to her that would have warranted her feeling that way? No. It was what she knew of me and heard about choices I made, and those things didn't line up with God's will for my life. She could very visibly see that Tera was living outside the will of God. And I left that picture, and I painted that picture in her life. And so, I'm trying to make sure I don't keep going. You know, I just want to take this time to, you know, ask yourself on a daily basis, who's watching me? Do I have a relationship? Ask yourself first, do you have a relationship with Jesus? Because that's the first step. You know, if you don't, then the legacy you're going to leave is one of hell. You know, you have got to, you know, have that relationship first and foremost. The thing is that I had a relationship with God in high school. I wasn't not saved. So you know, I just made choices and I felt very guilty all the time. I was never happy. You know, everybody paints this picture of like, well, if you don't do these fun things, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be they're not going to like you. They're not going to be your friends anymore. I won't get invited. If they don't think I'm the cool kid and will go along with everything, they won't invite me to come and hang out with them. They want to, you know, who in here likes to feel left out? Nobody, you know. But those things are temporary. Those feelings you get from those moments, those feelings you get from those friends are temporary. I'm telling you what, my best friends today are not the ones I had in high school. You know, I mean, some of them I knew in high school, but I didn't have the close relationship I had with them now. And so don't sell yourself short and think it's the end all be all, because that's not it. There's greater things that God has for you. The joy that you will get from following Him is far greater than the joy you will get from these earthly things that last a millisecond. And you may think it feels fun in the moment, but if you truly have a relationship with God, that joy is fleeting, and you will find yourself in a pit of sadness and sorrow and depression. I mean, I've been there, done that, you know, and it was because I was fighting against God about what He wanted for my life. I was just at a tug of war with, you know, God, I'm going to do it like this, and I don't want you to tell me what to do. I don't want to hear from you. What do you mean to live a certain way? You know, but all of these things have added up to make me who I am today, and I know He's still molding me. I mean, I still have to learn lessons. Don't think just because you hit adulthood that all that stuff goes away, because it does not. It stays, and you have to fight the battle every single day. But I just plead with you to evaluate your life right now, and don't be me. Don't leave a Rachel out there. Don't have that person who can come to you and say, I didn't see an evidence of Jesus in your life. Don't have those people. Be that person who, when somebody runs into you in 20 years, says, you know, man, your life, by watching you, I gave my life to Jesus and my life was changed. Which legacy would you rather have? Which one do you want? You know, I can only now hope that I can lead other people to Jesus and have that, but, you know, I missed one. I pray every day that somebody, you know, has filled in the slack, and I pray for her still daily. I mean, it's one of those things that she burdens my heart. But then I did make up for it, and I shared the love of Jesus with her, and I told her how, you know, my life was not where it should have been then, and it is where it is now. And so, you know, just because you have a point where you're at, you know, you feel like you're at a loss, or you feel like you have come to an end, that's not what God has for you. You know, His plan for you continues on even through our struggles and even through our mistakes. Satan tries to convince us that through mistakes we're done. And that's not how God uses us. He takes those mistakes and He uses them for His glory. And I thank God every day that He decided to do that in my life. So, Brother Ryan wanted me to just go ahead into the invitation. So we're going to ask the praise band if they want to just come on up. And I just want you to evaluate things tonight. Just think about what your life looks like. Right now, I just want you to think, am I leaving Rachel's behind? Do I have a life that anybody would want to look at and that they see Jesus in me? Do I have Jesus in me? You know, ask yourself that question. That's the first and foremost, most important question. You know, all of these things are important. But the most important thing in your testimony, the one thing that matters more than any of all the things that got me to where I am, is the one decision I made when I was 7 years old. I made a lot of mistakes between 7 and now, but I did give my life to Christ in that moment, and it's not ever been taken away from me. It was a gift that was given to me, and it cannot be taken away. But it had to come with a knowledge and learning of surrender and learning what it meant to truly live for Jesus. And I've had a hard road learning that lesson. And I would like to go back and relive that road now that I know all the things I know. But I can't do that. I've got to just take what happened in my life and make it me for the better.